Welcome to The Growth Equation. This isn't your typical business podcast. We're keeping it real about the challenges of scaling up, period. I'm Tristan Wright and I've been there. I've built and scaled my own business. I've sold it. I've learned a ton along the way. Now I'm bringing you the no BS stories of founders who are in the trenches right now, navigating that messy middle. We're talking advertising, marketing, design, creative, branding, the whole 9 yards. Doesn't matter if you're a solopreneur or running a team of 100. Everyone's got a secret sauce, that thing that makes them different, better. We're going to uncover it. So grab a coffee and let's get real. Today we're talking to Matthew Pezzamenti. Now, Matthew, have I pronounced your name correctly?
You've done really well, Tristan. I was impressed, actually. I'm like, oh, here he goes. But no, you nailed it in one.
Awesome. Matt, introduce us to yourself and a bit about your business.
Yeah, great, Tristan. Well, as you said, my name is Matthew Pezzamenti, and I founded Conversion Kings back in 2014. So that gives us about, I think, what are we, about 10, 11 years old now. So it's been an absolute wild journey. And what's so interesting is that every time I get to a point, I'm like, oh, look how smart and intelligent I am. And then another year goes by and I'm like, gee, how silly, uneducated and immature I was back then. So it's one of the ones where you think you're winning until you reflect on it. Like, oh, okay, got a little bit further to go.
That's a big one. Like if we're not continually learning and looking to grow, we're going backwards.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like looking at your old presentations or decks you would have done 6 months or 12 months ago. You're like, oh, that presentation looks amazing. And then you look at it now, and you're like, oh, goodness me, I did that.
Yeah, like we've got to continually optimize because otherwise there'll be someone else, someone newer, someone younger, someone hungrier wanting to get ahead. So, yeah. Tell me a bit about your business and where you are now. Like, what's the journey been like for you guys?
Yeah, well, look, I started the business after I read that book, The 4-Hour Work Week. I don't know if you've ever read that, Tristan, but I tell you what, it is a complete lie. You read it and you're like, oh my goodness, that's awesome. 4 hours a week, let's do that. So I read that business and I read that book and I thought, oh, okay, this would be a great way to make sure I set up the business and think about how I sort of balance that work-life balance, that elusive thing. And ever since I read the book, I've been working 80 hours since. So I'm not quite sure if it did any good for me, but yeah, it's how we started. But yeah, so I read that book and had a few other life moments hit me, and decided to kick open the agency, which is really exciting times. And since then, my initial thought was just to have a very small little operation that will just be me, maybe 1 or 2 people, and that's it. And currently now we're at 35 people. We're in 2 different cities. We're presence all around the globe and looking after most of the major retailers here in Australia and also some of the biggest brands globally as well. So it's been an absolute wild ride from where we started to where we are now.
Yeah. What's something you read the 4-Hour Work Week? So and that sort of lit a fire in your belly to start the business. What's something that you wish you knew then before? So what's something you wish you knew when you started your journey that you didn't know?
Yeah, I think the big thing is jumping on to growth too prematurely is one of the big things that I've learned, where in agencies, sometimes you'll get big opportunities that will hit you. And, we need to, and one of our core values is find a way, right? You got to find a way to service that and give really good value. One of the things I've learned, though, is sometimes growth can be fleeting. So you'll have a scenario where you've got big opportunities that'll hit you in a very short period of time. To service that opportunity, you might need to stretch yourself, maybe go out and hire some overflow support to really support that. And then you're scrambling as best you can to deliver to that growth that you've just hit. But in my experience, what I've found that even though you go through that process, you take it, you deliver it, you're successful on that side of it, but the cost of doing something unplanned is actually a non-profitable activity. So you go through this process, your turnover is fantastic, you achieve great results, but at the end of the day, you've done nothing more than just generate employment, and you haven't actually profited from the benefit there. The value comes from the improvement in the process and then the product and the people that you'll recognize over time. But it's very one thing I wish I knew previously is to be a little bit more concerned when taking on growth opportunities and making sure we're not trying to grow too quickly to the detriment of profitability.
So long story short, revenue doesn't always equal profit. You've got to understand all the mechanisms in between.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've never shy away from an opportunity, but it's one of the ones where thinking about how you deliver that opportunity can either be profitable or non-profitable, other than just thinking of the top line. Yeah, and then we'll worry about the profit later. Sometimes you just need to think a little bit more. I wish I thought a little bit more about some of the decisions I made, but we are where we are.
Yeah. Now, you strike me as a very goal-orientated person. You've got something that you want to achieve, and you're single-minded towards that. You also mentioned that you're working 80-hour weeks. So is that still happening? Like you're still working the big hours?
Oh, look, I think I've dropped down a little bit to probably 60 or 70. So I don't think when you hit to that 80 part, I think you get a little bit gritty in the eyes and it gets pretty heavy. But no, the work has dropped down slightly for me personally. But again, we're just in hyper growth again still at the moment. So there's a lot of opportunities out there that we're just capturing. And a lot of my excess hours isn't due to necessity, it's actually due to desire. So, and
That was going to be my next question. Is it out of choice or is it out of necessity?
well, it's a little bit of both. I'm actually my own worst enemy. So it's firstly out of choice, and then that actually becomes out of necessity because I'm like, well, if I've got more time here, I can definitely grow the business more, which I do, which then in turn creates more work, which then I need to service as well. So it's a little bit of a it sort of feeds itself into the next thing that you need to do. But as an entrepreneur, it's you're always looking about how you can finding a way to be able to achieve the goal that you've got. And sometimes well, for me anyway, I come up with multiple ways of achieving that. You try to see which one's going to get a good result or a positive outcome, and then you just back the ones that are really helpful. So you do. Where I spend a lot of my time would be looking at new ways to improve and grow the business and look for efficiencies. Not every single one of them works, absolutely. But then what it's a matter of then when you do find the winner, then you're putting all your focus over onto that and you're just leaning onto that opportunity as quickly as you can.
Totally. Now, I'm really big on work-life balance. Whether work-life balance is the right thing, but making sure that is the right name, making sure we spend time with family and friends as well. So how do you manage that?
Yeah, look, it is a balance, and I think for any entrepreneur, it is a balance. And I think for anyone, well, for me anyway, my balance is unbalanced, I guess, to say that at the very least. But one of the things is removing things out of my life that doesn't serve me, which then gives me time to spend on things that actually do. So as opposed to sitting down and mindlessly scrolling on a phone, I'll spend time with my kids. Like that for me is my priority. So when I've got opportunities to spend time, that's where it is. And it's interesting when you remove those small little distractions out of your world, how much more time you actually have. When you take away that indecision, the procrastination, the own sort of excuses you give to yourself, and you just take them off the plate and you actually just do what you got to do, there is a lot of time in the day to get a lot done. So I think that was one of the biggest things that I've been able to achieve is just efficiency and purpose. Yeah.
So being present as much as possible. So not like we talked last week, and I made the comment that you probably don't watch TV at all, and you said that you've had a TV in your lounge room for 3 months, and you had to call out a TV guy because you didn't know how to turn it on.
Thanks, Tristan. That's really great, mate. I didn't want you.
Sorry, mate.
I didn't even know how to turn my own TV on, but yeah, that's pretty embarrassing. But yeah, look, it's just about like what's the value of it? Like, what are you getting out of that investment of time? And I know that is a little bit very much you're always on, and where's that sort of pressure valve to release it? But I think for me, where I get stressed is where I'm not doing the work that I should be doing. It's not about the work. It's the procrastination which generates stress. So removing procrastination alleviates the stress and then enables me to be more present with whatever I'm doing. And even bringing that back into work, one of the things that I've started to do, and also I've sort of filtered that through the company, is when we're in a meeting such as this, or we're having a conversation online, which is different to being in person, one thing we do is we close down all the other tabs on the call or on the meeting, because then you are present in the meeting and you're actually doing it. Many times you might be in a meeting, I'll be in meetings and I see people, they're typing emails or they're on their Facebook page, I don't know where they are. But they're not present. So it's a waste of their time, your time, everybody's time. So let's just be present. Let's have a shorter, more effective meeting, and then you can get back to your Facebook page if you really want to go. Don't if you need to do that. But while you're in the meeting, be focused, be present, and do the best you can.
So, guys, if you're wanting, for those of you that are watching this, if you're wanting evidence of this, have a look in the reflection behind Matthew's face. You can see that he's got 3 screens and there's nothing open at all except for this browser.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so we can't multitask, right? Effectively, really.
Yeah. So there's been so many studies done around if you're multitasking and if you're jumping between tasks, every time you have to stop and restart, you lose 7 minutes. So imagine doing that 10 times in a day. That's 17 minutes just by stopping and restarting, because you're having to refocus each and every time.
Exactly, yeah.
So now you've been on a journey of scaling. You would have had highs, you would have had lows. There would have been years that you've made profit. There might have been years that you actually lost money. So that's a good thing. So that you haven't. So tell me about, let's say, your toughest decision during your growth phases. What's been some of the toughest decisions that you've had to make?
Sometimes it could be about there's different departments. If we start with people, sometimes letting go a high performer is sometimes the hardest decision you need to make, because on their own metrics, they're doing really well and they're exceeding, but their behavior within a team is actually destructive. So a lot of the times we try to think, oh, look, we can manage it out, we can separate them from the team, and we can create a little bit of a fence around them and protect the team from them because they're such a good producer and they're delivering great work. However, the toughest decisions I've had to make is actually let high performers go, and because they're actually more destructive to the team as a group than as that one individual. So that's been difficult from that aspect of it. The other big decisions that have been really difficult, when we're going into different business growth and we're making decisions on should we invest X number of time, money, and effort down a certain channel, there have been some really big decisions we've had to make, and they've obviously shaped the business in whichever form it is, but they've actually yes, sometimes just looking at the direction of the business also is a hard part, because when it's 1 or 2 people, it's quite easy to move direction. But then when you're trying to move direction or make a change and you've got a few people that you need to motivate and educate and motivate, then that becomes really hard, because it's never going to be good for everybody. It's only going to be good for most people, and then everyone else, you have to help manage that process as well.
Looking back on that journey, from a headcount perspective, what was the toughest period? Was it from 5 to 10, 15 to 20, 25 to 30? What was the most complex period for you?
Look, I think it's actually, I think at every stage it's complex, and whether or not you've just got that one person that you're relying on, and I've been in that scenario where you've just got your 2IC, and if you've ever read the book, The Tipping Point, they talked about a lady named Jenny, I think, or Jenny in that book, which I've been in that exact scenario, and it was but I guess one of the differences from us is that when we started, everything was about start with the end in mind. So everything was about process, procedures, and systems. So that was helpful. But the stress and the pressure you have when you've only got that single resource to rely on is highly stressful, because you're at a point where you're completely stretched. Anything goes wrong, you have no wiggle room, flex to actually solve any issues, and you're relying on somebody, just that one person, or just a very small handful of people. So that is extremely stressful at that point. Then as it starts growing out and you start building more people, then you start sort of releasing a little bit of your top end of responsibility, but then there's this HR component that we need to look after and need to manage, and it really doesn't pop up until you're around about, well, for me anyway, between 10 to 12 team members. When they start inter-chatting, they then start requiring certain levels of support as an employee, as they should. But as a business, there's a level of maturity. So we have to go through quite a transformation where we went from, hey, we're just good mates, to now we actually have to break this down into contracts, and there has to be a level of management across the top of that. So that again, that was a big challenge when we went from just small to a few. And then when we started scaling up above 15, then it was a matter of like, now we're actually going to need some middle management in the business to manage those. And me personally, I've struggled with middle management because I've never really saw the value in it until I can see the problems of not having it. So then bringing in the middle management, then you've got two now layers of challenges to face. You've got still your team that you need to motivate, and then you've got your middle managers that you need to give direction, structure, and then to manage as well. And then now we're at where we're now in absolute growth at the moment. It's now the challenge is being able to manage effectively by purely controls. And what I mean by controls is like you're unable, like at this point, it makes it challenging to look at individuals intimately. You're looking at them more from their diagnostics of outcome in the business. So then it becomes more of a challenge. Is how do you then manage someone when you can't see them and all you can see is their actual data and their outcome as well. So there's a little bit of context from the content that you get. So which part is harder? None. They're all exactly difficult.
It's always going to be a challenge.
Yeah. But what I find is that just as the business gets bigger, we evolve, our problems get bigger, our solutions get smarter, and we get better at it, resilient at it. So same level of stress, you're just getting better at dealing with the bigger problems.
You're just going to learn. You've got different things to deal with.
Yeah.
I want to go back to that, say, 15 to 20 stage. And I often call that area like the almost the death valley, because you're having to bring middle management in, but sometimes your profit levels struggle to maintain. You need that middle management, but your profit levels drop because you haven't got enough output, kind of thing. So how did you find that period? Was it a tiny bit challenging in terms of profitability as well?
Yeah, this is when for me again as a business owner, where my maturity hit. At the beginning, it was about every single activity need to be a positive like a profit generating activity. And then as you move into more management style, you then start to get the realization that actually not everything is profitable, because you're going to have non-billable time that you need to do to keep the operation running in the way it should run, which then means you need to, what I needed to do is review how we're pricing, how we're charging, and how we're delivering, because the requirement of administration is a requirement of business that needs to be factored into everything else. And when I was in the beginning, we never factored our price to think of all the administration challenges that you would come up with. So you've got a price point which isn't sustainable through growth. So then there's an amends back to what's the product, what's the price, what's the deliverable methodology, can we be more efficient on how we manage over here to maybe not have too much of an increase in the price to maintain that level of overage so we can cover all the on costs, not just HR costs in business. And if any other service businesses is listening to this, I guess we all felt it when COVID hit. Not only we were dealing with that at the time where we were hitting scale, but we're also hitting those insane income raises that actually happened to everybody in digitals, where our wage increase went over up to 35% increase in literally about a quarter on quite a large payroll, purely as we're trying to match the market with everyone going free for all. And a lot of the team were in more of a power position where they were starting to barter and bargain for roles as well. And people,
Yeah,
it was pretty crazy. Yeah.
how do you price your jobs up with that? Like, is it value based? Is it hours? So going a tiny bit more granular, how are you doing that?
Yeah, well, initially we were all about hours, pay by time. And that was helpful because it enabled us to manage direct cost with a direct person with a direct output, especially as we're building out the business. And a lot of the things that we're doing, no one had ever done before. So we were really breaking new ground. So when it was like, how much are we going to charge for this? Look, we actually don't know. They don't know. Nobody knows. So that was a safe way where we could deliver services without under or overcharging. So that was a safe way to grow. However, that being said, due to our 10 years plus experience in understanding and delivering all these projects and products that we've got, we've been able to create really defined baselines of effort to be able to do that. And then on top of that, we create all our process systems, templates, and automation that now speeds that up. So what we're able to do is we're able to price based on our baseline, but we're able to deliver efficiency based on the IP and the value that we've built over the last 10 years. So the benefit of that is that we still deliver a high value, quality, cost-effective service to the customers that they're very happy with. It's still better, more cost-effective than anyone else in the market, but we're actually more efficient every single day at doing it. And we're benefiting from that efficiency by charging the baseline item for what we've been able to deliver.
Got it. So you've built out your processes and your systems, and you know that, let's say a certain task should take 3 hours, but the value of it is worth 7 hours or whatever, simplifying things. So
Yeah. Well, we look at it and go, okay, well, it took us 3 hours to consistently over the last 10 years deliver this one task, and we know that at that 3 hour point, this is high value to the customer based on the investment and the outcome that happens with that task as well. Because obviously we've tracked everything. And then we can go, okay, if the market is happy at that level, we're happy to deliver that level. We can deliver that level at the lowest common denominator, meaning that maybe mid-weight teams can deliver at that speed. Then if we have more efficient people in the business, because based on their seniority, based on their ability to deliver, we should be able to then deliver that same product at the same price, but we benefit from the efficiency and the increased wage costs that we do by our real advanced team members to be able to do what they do as well. So it's great for the customers because they know exactly how much they're investing in it, and it's better, it's more affordable than going elsewhere. And it's great for us because we know exactly what we need to, what we're delivering to the client. And our challenge is how can we improve quality and improve efficiency by doing what we're doing as well.
how long did it take you to get to this point? Because so many agencies aren't even able to track time and know how much a certain output costs them internally.
Yeah, look, I'm not quite sure. Like, I think that would just stress me out too much. It's kind of like I feel it's like the Dunning-Kruger effect, where this to me just becomes a natural extension of what and how I do what I do. So I don't actually have too much personal value in what we've set up because it just seems to be natural. But I do know also that sometimes people get into that time tracking scenario, it's complex and it's problematic and it's hard, and you've got to be consistent with it, and there's a lot of discipline around it as well. So if that's not your natural predisposition, and if people are getting into agency, especially from a creative landscape, it's not really our strong point, and it definitely wasn't my strong point. But I recognize that right at the beginning of the business, and that's actually something I've truly focused on. And it's similar to the way that they give you advice if you ever go to the gym, and they go, whatever exercise you hate doing, do that one the most,
Yeah,
because that's where your weakness is. And if you focus on that and you get stronger at that, everything else gets stronger. And that's exactly what I did when I started the business, because personally for me, I struggle with even the most basic of spelling or even the most basic of grammar. I just can't, that's a very big struggle for me. So I've never leaned towards written communication as how I I express myself. But unfortunately, unfortunately, that's been an absolute requirement in this business. So very early on, that was one of my focuses, that I needed to improve that about myself, so then I can improve that about the business. And I think the last thing I'll share on that is, I had a gentleman once come in, and he made a comment to me, and it's always stayed with me. And he said to me, Matt, he goes, the business is a true reflection of yourself. And if you are out of control, you're chaos, you're stressed out, what do you think the business is going to be behaving like? But if you're methodical, you're disciplined, you're consistent, you've got good communication skills, that's typically the way the business operates. And I can test hand on heart say that's exactly true, because I've had both scenarios, and I can see the impact of that as well.
Yeah, that's a massive learning. So
Yeah.
definitely, like, it's a reflection of who you are and the energy and the effort that you put into it.
Yeah.
So AI has had a massive impact in the industry, in the way we live life. What are you seeing, and what are you guys doing with it?
Well, look, AI has been a benefit, but also a bit of a distraction as well, within the business. And it also causes a few challenges. And here's a little bit of an example. Start with people again. You're going through a HR scenario. A lot of the interviews these days are actually virtual. They're not even in person, just the nature of it. You're asking someone interview questions, and you're watching their eyes. And you're watching their eyes because they're actually on ChatGPT, typing the questions to get to the answers. Oh, yeah. To give the response as well, and you can see it going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So that's been interesting from a HR perspective, and also leaning back on that Dunning-Kruger effect is where you've got people that will use AI to get the cherry bits of information that sounds like they know what they're talking about, and then they'll put that forward. And then our challenge now is about how do we sift through what are the ChatGPT response and quality work to actually what's coming from that individual. So that's meant that we've had to sort of change a little bit on our HR process from that. From a work perspective, it's been helpful in that ideation phase when you definitely are looking for inspiration, or where do I start? And coming back to where if you understand the fundamentals of what you're doing, then when you're putting the prompts into ChatGPT or any AI, you're actually getting helpful feedback that you can then challenge and update and amend, and you can get a really good outcome. And then that's helpful. But it's good in, good out, bad in, bad out. So the thing with AI in that scenario can be very helpful, but it could also be very dangerous, because you can seem like you're talking from authority, but you actually have no idea what you're talking about. And then from a client expectation, when we're looking at AI and the tools and what we do as actually a day-to-day craft, AI is becoming helpful, but it's not there yet to be truly where it needs to be. There are some AI acceleration that we're doing in optimization, but it also comes with problems and dramas as well too. So it's definitely not a silver bullet. It's definitely not there yet. Will it get there? Maybe. Is it going to be helpful? Absolutely. I think our goal is about how do we use it as just one of our toolkits, tools in our toolkit to deliver good services to clients and good business operations.
Totally. It needs to be built into your processes. Like, it can't be we need to think about it as part of a process, not the whole process. So, and what I'm saying is, people are assuming AI understands the entire process or the entire journey of what you're wanting to achieve, but it doesn't. It only understands that tiny bit of information that you give it. So if you've got a job workflow, you can't assume that AI understands that entire job workflow. You need to share that job workflow with AI for it to be able to be of benefit as well.
Yeah. Well, I think it all comes down to choosing what you're trying to achieve, and it's, like I said, it's just one of the other tools that you have to achieve that. And what we find is when people lean on it too much, then they become like a bit of a house of cards. They might stand up really well, but a few sort of pokes at it, and it's all going to fall over, and it's not having much substance behind it.
That's it. So, team, like, obviously you've had busy periods, you've had quiet periods. Times it's been hard to motivate them. There's been times that they're super motivated. How do you keep your team on track and aligned with the business's North Star?
Well, we've got a purpose, we've got a vision, and we've got goals, and we break them down to each quarter, and each quarter has a theme. Each theme is then supported by every head of every department who have their own projects within those departments that support the business theme, and the team underneath those departments all know what we're going for each one of those departments. That again rolls up into those business requirements. So the way that we keep everyone focused is sharing the purpose, breaking it down into each quarters, giving them the way to actually support the business from that. And obviously we give them some bonuses for getting to where we got to get them to. Obviously you've got to do that, which is great. Got to share the love. But yeah, it's really about just very clear direction, clear vision, clear alignment. It's all about discipline, consistency, and clear communication helps.
You couldn't have answered that better. That's
Oh, well, there you
exactly,
go. Top of the mark, huh?
exactly how I teach. The only thing is, I'm very big on, so the business has got its goals. The individual needs to understand what the benefit for them to work on business goals is, other than their salary. So
yeah, and look, there's things that we place in there, like there's an advancement process based on their level of certification based on education. So there's an education track that we do, which obviously supports their own career path. You've got a career path that we lay out for them. Then you've got an income path that they want to be laid out as well. And thinking about everyone wants to make more money, it's not actually the case. Some people will trade money for lifestyle. So then we need to work on what's good for them, and then just really understanding as an individual what exactly excites them, because everybody is very, very different. If I say you reward somebody with gold class movie tickets, for one person they might really love and enjoy that. For me, I get too bored. The movie tickets are the worst thing for me, because I'll be sitting there after about 2 minutes going, okay, let me check my emails, let me do something else. So yes, we just need to find the right motivator for the right person. The other part.
yeah, spot on. That's it.
Mm.
We're about to wrap up. So if you were to leave one insight that we could give to other business owners, what would that one insight be?
Don't take anything personal. And you bring the business into your own personality. It means everything to us as entrepreneurs. Like, it is our baby. It is like just like a baby, and you put everything into that. And sometimes things don't go well, and clients don't play nice. Team might rip you off. Things just don't go well. I think the one thing to share is just don't take it personal. It's all part of the process. Step back from it, look from it, observe it, ask yourself, what can I learn from it? And then just move on. And if you take anything personal, it'll end up becoming just another one of those burdens that puts onto your back of your shoulder, and you'll get a little bit stuck in the mud. So that would be my one, is just don't take anything in personal. Just sit back, enjoy the journey, and just find a way out of it if you need.
Awesome. Love it. Thank you very much. If people wanted to contact you, what's the best way to get in touch?
Best is really just hit me up on LinkedIn. So I'm on LinkedIn, Matthew Pessamenti. If you look at that, obviously director and founder of Conversion Kings, Crowbar. Yeah, just hit me up that. Shoot me through a connection request. Always happy to chat to fellow entrepreneurs and also fellow business owners as well, especially if you're in Brizzy. It is a lonely road, and only the people who've walked it understand the things that you trip over. So yeah, always happy to chat to fellow entrepreneurs.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome, Tristan. Thank you so much. Been a pleasure.
That's a wrap. Thanks for tuning into The Growth Equation. If you've enjoyed the show, hit that subscribe button and leave a review. It helps us big time. Catch you next time. And if you want more, head over to evolvetogrow.com.au for show notes and exclusive content.